널 기다렸어.
To come back into that game. He traded evenly with all those medevacs that got away, though. Gumi was like, well, I have 3 bases and mules, and I just make 8 Marines at a time, 8 Marines at a time, 8 Marines at a time. You only have 2 bases. Pro-Toss units are more expensive. And what's hard for a Terran to replace is medevacs, liberators, things like that. But when you already have like 10 medevacs on the map, Combat Shield Marines is coming out 50 a pop. It's hard to compete with that with Gateway Armies alone.
And now what's even worse for SOS is that he has to play again right away. He doesn't even have time to rest. That's sometimes the way that it happens here. Some players play a lot of games at first, and some players play a lot of games at the end.
Yeah.
But SOS is playing his 4th game already, and this is only game number 8. He's going up against Curious, so it's going to be a PvZ. Another different matchup for him.
Now, if he loses this game, he has lost the afternoon group. I mean, like, if this were not a double, he would actually, be out. But, we have that second evening set, so he does have a chance to get back into things. Even if he loses this game, it'll be slim if he loses this game, but he still has a chance.
Yeah,
but if he loses 2 more, he's going into, he has to be, he's basically, whether he passes or fails is based on everyone else's results, and he's no longer in control. Curious at 1-1 currently, and did take out Hurricane. I think Hurricane kind of defeated himself in a lot of ways in that game, so not that Curious played badly, but let's see if he can take out a stronger player here in SOS.
Yeah, we say stronger, but his form isn't looking on point today. We'll see if SOS can pull himself back together. He's essentially got to win 7 in a row, or at least 6. Curious also fighting for another win. Let's go into Dust Towers. Welcome back to Dust Towers. We're here on this map again. Down on the bottom left in the red, the Protoss player, it is SOS. Surprisingly, 0-3. He said he looked tired when he first came in, looking a bit frustrated at this point.
Yeah. His opponent, the only Zerg in the group, is Curious.
Can we keep this up the whole day and annoy the entire viewer base?
Yeah.
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. Okay, well, for those of you guys who are just tuning in, if you're just turning in for the night and you sat down,
yeah, I mean,
and watched some
possibility.
StarCraft, you just got on the subway train and the last train home, and you're like, you had a few, but you're just turning in for the night. You want to watch this on the way home? Good on you.
Or it's like 2:30 in the morning on the East Coast of the U.S. You're just staying awake. Shout outs to you too. Shout outs to the Aussies that are watching this with their afternoon tea, if they do that.
Yeah, I think tea time just means dinner in Australian, right?
I don't know. I
Someone
don't speak
told me
Australian.
That. Like, in Australian, when you... I remember I have actually a few Australian players I'd play StarCraft and Heroes with, and other games as well. Or the Steam games and stuff like that, and they always be like, oh, I got to go for tea time. And I'm like, for the longest time, I was like, okay, that's just weird. We don't do that in America. We don't just go like, oh, mom says, got to have tea, and we just like go heat it up. Sit down and talk about, like, oh, yes, do you hear what's going on in the Middle East?
The football game, man. That's what they're talking about, the football game.
But I think that actually just means dinner. I think that...
I learned some Australian while Moonglade was casting with us, but I'm not fluent. So someone who's better at the language would have to fill me in. I'm not entirely sure.
If Maynard's out there watching, there's a high chance, because he's one of the most passionate viewers.
He's one of the most Australian viewers too.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
His hair probably like top 3 in all commentators and all esports as well.
Yeah, I'd say top 2 even. I mean, who's got better hair?
Well, like Moonglade's up there.
Frodan's got some pretty cool hair.
Yeah,
the pink spiked hair.
Yeah, Frodan, Moonglade.
The other
Maynard.
The Korean English casters kind of have just normal hair. Like me, you, Nick, Dan. We all have just kind of basic hairstyles.
Yeah, Tasteless used to have out there hair, but he's kind of calmed it down. I used to have like the craziest out there hair too. I went blonde once. I'll never do that again.
Yeah, but that's the same experience for me. I went blonde once.
Oh, that's right.
You were there.
Yeah.
It was like long blonde. It was not good. There
was
were
actually
pictures on Facebook. Yeah.
That was
I
before.
don't show anybody.
That was before you were casting, right?
I
don't think you cast with that hair.
I think
ever.
I was. Well, maybe. I think I might have been doing like the fill-in work of World of Tanks at GOM TV at that time, but
Gotcha.
not 100% sure. But yeah, went blonde once, and I'm never going back.
Yeah. Well, we both did. It's all right. Everybody has that experimental time.
You just got to try it out, you know? Maybe it would have been good. Maybe we stay with it.
SOS, man, he's going for a glaive timing here. He rushed out that Twilight Council. He's just going to show 2 adepts and commit to drone kills here, which is really smart because it gives him a small tempo advantage going to the follow-up push. And actually, he's getting quite a few, and he's going to even get away with the shade for drone kills. And if he can get in between the minerals, he might... No, never mind. Not going to happen.
Not with speed. Just not enough time.
But look, he's going to hide what he's doing. The problem is that Curious just got Overlord speed. And with 2 Overlords coming down the pipe, there's no way to hide what he's doing. It's super obvious. Even if he tries to make a Nexus now, it's like, no, everybody knows what's going on. Okay, there's no hiding this. And Gumio, or I don't know why I said Gumio. Curious.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Why do I call Curious Gumio?
I'm not sure why it is, actually, that we do this, but...
I think of them as similar players in terms of their standing and current form and where they fit in the Korean scene as players. I think that's why.
I think that's fair to say. Last year, at the end of the year, and even the very beginning of this year, I think Curious would be like a whole class above Gumio, but right now...
now they're similar.
Yeah. Well, because he knows what's going on, one of 2 things is going to happen. I think SOS is just going to change the plan here. That's like A. B is if he commits to it, Curious will still scout it and is already committing to a ton of Lings. Yeah, he's actually going to commit, like Warp Prism coming up. And he's going to be able to make Banelings to defend this. He's going to have so many Lings. He's already getting +1. He's just playing transition. Although, as I say that, SOS adds 2 Stargates. So he's pulling in SOS.
Yeah, there we go. He's like, well, my first plan didn't work, so now time to embark on a totally different and new adventure here.
You know, like when you watch... Do you ever have, in your high school, do you ever have people do rap battles in the hallway?
No.
Well,
but I'm interested to hear your experiences.
Well, I'm from the suburbs of Atlanta. That's where I went to high school. We had a lot of this going on.
I went to a Catholic school in Long Island, New York City, so very different.
But every now and then, you'd see the guy who's totally on point. He's freestyling. He destroys the other guy. And it's like, wow, he's really... He just thought of this on the spot, but he's godlike. No one can ever touch him. And then sometimes when he freestyle, it just wasn't working out. And I feel like SOS is freestyling today. He's like...
You're not feeling it?
He's missing his rhymes. I don't know.
His flow is not your style. Not really working out. I see what you mean.
He's kind of all over the place, which is really unpredictable. But it's obviously less successful if you don't get away with it or if you're scouted. Like Curious has already confirmed the double Stargate.
Well, I like this kind of freestyling because he's getting in there. He's doing that damage. He's at 3 places at the same time.
Does he just not have enough Lings?
He's trying to make Lings desperately, but the Lings die so fast to mass Adepts. Tried to split there, was moderately successful.
I guess he just doesn't have enough Lings, man. Like, more Adepts coming in.
Does this happen?
So, as it turns out, the attack he had originally planned happens a little bit later, and he does a lot of damage.
He adds in Phoenixes, I suppose. Some Phoenix Adept harass here.
He can't catch these Adepts.
He's making a lot of Lings now. Banelings were used earlier to great effect. Ooh, nice pickup there. Saves a lot of very
I think this is just
Adepts.
too much damage.
Well, he's killing a lot of the Lings, and he's keeping the drone count extremely low. And at the same time, he's killing all these Overlords. Curious is dealing with too much stuff to even pull back the Overlords right now.
He's getting +1 for his Phoenixes, and there's not a single Spore Crawler on the map. So in just a second, when those Phoenixes come across the map and really start picking up drones, it's going to get gnarly. 2 of them on the way now, the Spores. And the interesting thing is he's going for +1 attack, so he really just wants to, I think, go full Phoenix here. This is a kind of different way of approaching things. I thought he was just going to go double Phoenix into a little bit of harassment and flexibility for later on. I didn't think he was going to commit this much, but I think he's allowed to do this because his Adept attack basically won him the game. And
these Phoenixes don't really have much of an answer, especially because he's mass producing them. And once you get ahead on Phoenixes, it's so hard to come back as the opposing player.
A lot of Lings run by over here, but overcharges will clean them up.
Yeah, after 15 probes go down.
But here's the thing. Okay, he's going to go for the anti-synergy move. He forced a bunch of Spore Crawlers, so he then went DTs into the attack. There's no Spore at this base, so he's just going to kill it. There's no way to defend it. But if he can actually just kill this hatchery with DTs, I mean, he could have killed it with Zealots, doesn't matter. He's still massively ahead. Despite losing workers, he's up 4. And I guess he's going to kill any Overseer that tries to kill the DTs or tries to scout the DTs.
If he can kill one Spore at a base, there's just no way that Curious can deal with it, you know?
Well,
Maybe he can try to lift the Banelings so they don't explode and try to do some really funky stuff.
He has so many Phoenixes that he can actually just micro against the Spores and kill every Overlord on the map. And I think that's like what he's starting to think about doing. This game is over. There's no way for Curious to come back, and it's just a matter of how he dies now.
He needs a miracle. And even then, some Zealots get surrounded here. Overcharges should clean that up.
He's not on Incredible Miracle anymore.
Yeah. Picking up all the Hydras. You can just tank the one Spore. One Spore isn't enough at this point.
Overcharge back at home this time might not be enough, but he can just warp in a DT or 2 to be totally fine. Evolution Chamber will get taken out here. He's going to try to manually detonate those Banelings, but
he picks up the DTs to save their lives.
Looks like SOS is going to take his first win here.
It's looking like it.
I guess he won the rap battle in the last verse, in the last sonnet or
he had
what?
Sonnet.
Not sonnet. What do you know the lines?
Major you.
God, what's
this GG. SOS takes out Curious. Nice move there. The Adept Pressure does some small amount of damage, but then the follow-up with the Phoenixes and the Mass Adepts was too much for Curious to handle. And SOS does take his first win.
It's on a home map, so not as valuable as it could have been. Yeah. It's not Refrain. What's the thing where you have like 4 lines in a row and it's like part of a song?